Hello and welcome everyone. Welcome to the Human Design Study Group. Today we're going to be talking about the Rave Mandala chart. I like to start with every single study group and class by looking at the Just Now chart. So right in front of me, you can see in mybodygraph.com, we have my chart on one side and we have the Just Now chart on the other. You may have noticed that we've got this global conditioning pattern, we call it, for the last few months. If you've been watching the transits, have you observed other people or even yourself trying to make logical, practical, maybe not, but logical decisions from the pressure to resolve the doubts inside of your head and come to answers to those doubts and try to make those decisions from inside your head, from the mind, talking within itself about itself? Have you noticed that? Have you noticed other people making decisions from their mind chatter? Because that's what we've got going on in this transit that has been happening for months now. I've noticed it myself, where there's all these ideas and you know, a lot of these things, fantasies for me. I tend to fantasize about the future. This morning when I was doing my meditation in the Soltech lounge, I started off laying down, and it's basically this lounge chair that provides magnetics and sound, and I found myself fantasizing about what I was going to tell you guys today. And you know, that's just how the mind works. It's always got this mental chatterbox going on inside of your head. So be very careful not to follow that, because what tends to happen is if you follow that, you're not obeying your strategy and authority, because strategy and authority is a body thing. And if you're looking at the Just Now transits, you see that we also have the sun in gate 28. I always have gate 28 in my design. It's one of my nodal, unconscious nodal environment. So this is not something that necessarily is affecting me as much. However, it is a fourth line day. Fourth line days are great for having some kind of interaction, externalization with others, friendship, and contacting your friends, you know, having some kind of message that you'd like to get out to the people that you're familiar with. So perfect day for me to do study group with you guys, because we're familiar with each other. And you can see my body graph just let us know that we've had a shift. Mercury just shifted from line 5 to line 6. So you can see that that happens today. If you don't have this on your My Body Graph, don't worry. That particular aspect is just a I'm in beta testing right now, so you don't have that yet, but it's coming soon. This particular thing that you see in front of me. So that's what we're at today. Fourth line day. This is the gate. What the gate's about. This is about the awareness of wanting to find purpose within your life, wanting to be empowered, wanting to have a meaning to your life beyond just survival, right? Well-being of the physical form includes that you're going to have a life filled with meaning. That's one of the programming things that programs us in our life as a human. So the 28th gate this week might have brought in some awarenesses for you. If you do not have it, you might have noticed that you've had this looking for some kind of higher purpose in your life, some kind of maybe calling, or you are afraid that you're going to die before you've achieved your purpose. That's what everybody's being programmed with this whole entire week. So keep an eye out for those transits. That's our transit talk for today for the moment. I just want to welcome personally everyone who is currently in the cartography deepening. So those of you who are live with me right now, I want to welcome you especially. And you can see everyone's names here on this graph. They're actually graduates of the cartography class, which is a 16-week program, generally speaking. And they're doing a deepening course. So for those of you on this slide who are here today, I want to invite you, if you have any thing that you would like to add to the conversation. If you hear me say something and you feel you're like, really, this would be a great place to put in this, I want to invite you to unmute yourself and share, okay, so that we can have a nice dialogue today. And Kathy is asking the question, why do they use just the personality side in the transits? And that's a beautiful question. Thank you very much for asking, Kathy. So when we look at the human design chart just by itself, I'm going to go here. There's my chart. And the moment of my birth, this is what was happening, right? We know that. And then 88 degrees of the sun's movement before I was born, this is what was happening. So there's always right now, adjust now, adjust now, adjust now, adjust now, because all of these different planets are moving about in space, and they're giving us some kind of element of, sorry, I put my phone down, it was distracting me, some kind of element of programming, because here on this slide is the template that is showing you what it is to be human. You can see that my template is activated in particular ways, and the just now comes from right now, right now, right now. And that's why we only use, so let me go to create a new just now. There, that's why we only use the personality side. That's the current programming, the current conditioning. And you know, this is another great place to pull in this aspect when you're looking at transits, when you're looking at what is conditioning. Conditioning only happens in the mind's process, because the mind is what is constantly sorting and comparing and measuring and, you know, self-reflecting on what it is to be this body, this being, and what it thinks it knows. So if you look at my design, I'm going to go back to what we're looking at in a just now connection. I have all of this stuff in black on the right hand side that I'm conscious of, and I'm unconscious of what's going on underneath the surface, my body resonance, right? So if I'm getting the programming of what's happening just now, it's actually being processed by mind. It's not necessarily going to be embedded in the unconscious aspects, although my mind can process that and think that that's mine. When I say that, I mean the just now transit, that that's my thought. Oh, it's my thought. If I didn't have 28, it's my thought that, my God, I have this fear, because splenic center is about fear. I have this fear that I'm going to die without achieving my purpose. So I've got to reach out to a friend today, and I've got to talk to somebody, maybe externalize this message that, man, I'm afraid I'm going to die without achieving my purpose. And, you know, can you help me? Let's talk about this, maybe. Or maybe you're just going to think about it inside of your head. You're going to struggle and be empowered and want to fight for your purpose, depending on what you've got going on in your body graph. So hopefully that helps, Kathy. Did that make sense? Please let me know if not, so that I can maybe say it in a different way, or have someone else come in to add their part to the story. Did that make sense? Yes, okay, great. So let's go into, again, we have, and Kathy is one of our students. We also have, I wanted to welcome some new group of students that just started this week. These are our ABC adventurers. So ABC is the class before cartography, after living your design. So those of you who are in ABCs, please do feel free to ask any questions, come on live, talk with us. As you can see, we've got a whole bunch of people in the class with us. I can see Yana's video. I see Paul. Ellen's packing. Hey, Kathy. Jella's here. Donna is here. And then I've also got Kate. Hi, Kate. Nice to see you. Melissa and Jean. I just spoke with her yesterday. And then we have Julie and Nathan. So all of you are definitely very welcome to ask questions at any time. However, for this purpose of this class, our adventurers, ABCs, and the cartography, I want to pay special attention to you. And then if anybody is interested in taking the Living Your Design class starting in a few weeks on Friday at 12 noon Pacific, then please do let me know, and I can let you know how to sign up for that. So moving forward, we're going to be talking, I actually have a article that I wrote for Jovian Archive. I'm going to copy paste and put this in the chat so that you can put it up on your screen if you'd like, so that you personally have access to these awesome graphics that Loki, Ross' son, made for this article that I wrote for Jovian Archive. I wrote a few years ago when I was under the name of Andrea Bye-Bye, so you'll see that at the bottom of the page. But here, I just want to take you verbally through the Rave Mandala to help you. And I see that all of you have been studying this for a while. I can see that I don't have anybody I don't recognize here on this panel. So I'm going to assume that you know the majority of the things about the mandala, just briefly cover them. But the thing that I really wanted to draw your attention to today was looking at the hexagrams and how they're structured within and of itself, but as well as why they're placed where they are around the wheel. And actually, maybe not why. My mind always wants to know why. I've got a 61 in an undefined head center that's going, yes, please, I want to understand the mysteries, collaborate with me, and let's understand it together, because it's exceedingly exceedingly difficult for truth to stand alone. And so I like to have this kind of collaboration with you. Again, feel free to ask any questions as we move forward. But the thing I want to show you is these images. So I'm going to start here. And all of you should be familiar with what that center is, right? The G center, it's the identity center. And we can see that when we activate all of these different gates, all of these different gates have a very particular place, a symmetrical place in the Rave mandala, in the wheel itself. So that's where I wanted to draw your attention. Is everyone familiar with how this happens and why? If you're not, if you have a question about it as we move forward and you're a little bit lost, please do feel free to ask, okay? Because this is where I want to make sure that everyone's really clear as we're moving through. That's what study group is for. It's for interaction. So Julie is in the classroom, and she's one of my people that is a leader. She's got the channel of the Alpha. I've also got Natalie, if she happens to join, that's really educated. She's a fellow Living or Design guide. And then she's also taking the analyst training program, can answer questions there in the chat as well. So if there's any questions, please don't feel shy to be able to just write or unmute if you really need some help, okay? So let's begin. When we look at the Rave mandala, we're going to begin with gate 1. And I actually pulled out the beautiful cards that Linda Bonnell created, the Living Your Design System Rave I Ching card. So this is the image that she's got for that yang. And you can see that this is all yang lines. Let's see if I can get a little pen to write here. Or spotlight. That would be fun. That way I don't keep it messed up. So here, you see this right here? You see this? 1 is always going to be exactly here. All of these gate numbers do not change in the mandala. It's going to be here. Now, I want you to soft gaze on this chart. Just look at this chart very softly and observe as you follow the hexagrams counterclockwise. So watch, just observe. I want to ask you a question when we get to gate 2. I'm going to ask you a question about what you observe. So follow my arrow, my little pointer thing, and what do you observe as you continue to follow? What's same? What's different? As you move, softly gazing at all of these hexagrams, where there's one thing that I want you to observe that remains consistent. So keep following. I'm going to scroll over and go down a little bit. You're at gate 25. Keep looking down. Follow to 17, 21, 51, 42, down to 3, 27, 24. What was the one thing that you noticed stayed the same about all those hexagrams? Please type into the chat. Or you can unmute and share with me. What did you notice? Thank you, Kate. Exactly. A solid bottom line. What does that mean? What is a solid bottom line? That is what number line in the hexagrams? How do we label hexagrams? First line, yes, absolutely. So the first line is what? Yin or yang? Yang, yang, yes. So that means then, if every single first line is yang, and that's halfway through the 64 hexagrams, just quickly now as you go through to 2, look and see what happens here. What happens here? Every single bottom line, every single hexagram line on the bottom, the first line, is yin, right? So what that means then, the foundation line of line 1, the base of the hexagram, is all yang on one side of the wheel and all yin on the other side of the wheel. What would that tell you about all of the hexagrams? If we look across the wheel from each of these hexagrams, here's gate 1, Look across the wheel. Here's gate 2. Exact opposite, isn't it? Is that true for every single hexagram as you move around the wheel? Yes or no? Is the exact opposite hexagram exactly opposite in the wheel everywhere you look? Yes, exactly. Isn't that interesting? Did anybody not know this yet? Because I remember the first time somebody showed me this, I was like, whoa, wow, that's really cool. Oppositions in the wheel, yeah, oppositions in the wheel are always exactly mirrors of each other. Now, the interesting thing to note is that we only have 3 channels. Bonus points for people who can name the 3 channels right now in the chat. 3 channels that are oppositions in the wheel. What are the most common channels? Because we've got a sun and an earth constantly giving us oppositions, and a nodal environment that is constantly giving us oppositions. Thank you, Julie, for letting me know you knew that from me. Charisma, absolutely. That was the channel name, bonus points. That is the channel that's 3420. Community, that's the channel 3740. And Melissa happens to have both those channels. So she's like one of the epitomes of what it is to be human. What else do we have? One more channel that is so common. Ra had this channel as a hint. So one more channel that is exactly oppositions in the wheel. And if you don't know, you could look in the wheel and go, oppositions, do I recognize that? Do I recognize that? That might take a while to go through all 64. So one more minute. I'll give you guys a few more seconds to gaze at this wheel and see if you can figure out one of the mysteries of this wheel. I have part of this channel. Ra had this channel. It's, hint, genius freak. What channel is that? Yeah, you got the name or the number. What's the name of the channel? What's our name of the channel? So she gave us, Melissa gave us the name, the numbers, 4323. What is the name of this channel? It's a channel of, what did Ra do with the human design system? Yes, structuring. Thank you, Paul, and you've got that channel. So that's what makes us the epitomes of what it is to be programmed as a human, because remember, this is a template. When we're looking at a body graph, that is the template of what all the possibilities of what it could mean to be human, and then we get to combine them all in different ways. But the 3 basic channels that are oppositions in the wheel that you're going to find most often are the 40, 37, the 34, 20, and the 23, 43. Okay, so those are really, really common. Now, every other gate combination in opposition are at different places in the body graph. How we source into how this mandala is pulled together is that all of these very special gates you can see here in the G center, all of these gates have a very special energy, we could call it. So I'm gonna pull up some of my beautiful cards here. These are a lot of fun. I like to use physical things, but do you see this? I'm not sure if you're seeing it backwards or forwards, but it says the creative heaven. This is yang, yang, yang. This is a trigram. All of these gates, these 8 gates that you can see here, are representative of the 8 houses of the I Ching. So if you stack 2 trigrams, tri meaning 3, stack them on top of each other, you have got gate 1, that's all yang. So anybody who is born with their personality sun in any of these gates, all the way down to 2, they're going to be in that family of the yang, more yang. So like as a woman, let's say a woman was born in gate with their sun in gate 1, that would make them more likely to be yangish, a yangish kind of female. Or we have a man who is born with his sun in gate 2, that would mean that they would become more of like a yinish kind of male. There's this energy there, this feminine quality to that person. Their personality sun, remember, 70% of the neutrino stream that imprinted your being is coming through the sun, and then it's grounded on the opposite side in the earth, in that position, whatever it happens to be on the other side. So when we're looking at the yang yang, gate 1, it's going to set the foundation for the following hexagrams: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 hexagrams. So 8 times 8 different hexagrams, we have 64, right? So this is the foundation. Look, what is it? What do you notice about these? They're all yang. Oops, all yang. All yang, all yang trigrams. So if we look opposite in the wheel, what would we find? We should find all yin. See that? All of these are yin. So if you're trying to remember where hexagrams are in the wheel, this will help give you a clue if you're studying the hexagrams, if the structures, because each of these lines, it says something about the hexagram itself. Look at gate 2. What is gate 2? It's the receptive. Let me get this guy. The receptive earth. It's yin, yin, yin over yin, yin, yin. That is a very receptive energy. So that therefore, all of these energies to follow have a basis in receptivity, groundedness in earth, in form. Because we're talking about earth, we're talking about form. And what do you know, my advanced students, please, what do you know about these gates down here in the quarter of civilization, which we're going to talk about in a little bit? And anybody else who wants to try, who likes puzzles and wants to figure this out, what do you notice? If I just label these numbers and ask you where in the body graph, let me see if you can still see, that kind of, I'm cheating now. I'm showing you where to look. But what do you notice about all of those gates? Where are they coming from? Yes, thank you, Kathy, in the throat. The quarter of civilization is in the throat. That's where we have communication and action, right? So beautiful. Thank you for sharing that, Kathy. That's very helpful. So now we know that, communication and action, it's grounded in form. It's about the world of communication. It's about the world of making things happen, because that's what a throat activated person can do if it's connected to a motor, right? And if you know your motors, we've got 3 of them right here that could make for a manifestor motor. Manifestor to the throat if it's connected up to the throat. And then if we've got a generator motor and it's connected up to the throat, then we have the manifesting generator kind of action. So when we're looking at this, I'm going to continue up here to just, with our investigation of the mandala wheel itself, when we're talking about hexagrams, because that's our focus today. Let's look at the 10. 10 is the gate of behavior, and the bottom is, let's get the joyous lake. Yep. This is the joyous lake hexagram, or the trigram, sorry, not the hexagram. The hexagram itself is, let's see, can I go up a little higher? Yeah, that's not the hexagram itself, because that's yang over the joyous lake. So when we're looking at 10 moving forward, we're seeing the exact same trigram all at the bottom. So we have yin, yin, yang, yang, yin. And if we look across the way, there's that yang, yang, so very receptive energy, but now it's changed to one yang line, yin, yin, yang line, all the way up to the 7 changes it. So you can see how, if you remember these 7, 8 gates in the G center, and you remember where they are in the wheel, it can source you into the next 7 hexagrams that are related, that the previous hexagram, one of these ones in yellow, sets the foundation for the following 7 hexagrams. So the 10 gives us all of these here, 10 and 1 being in this quarter of mutation, purpose fulfilled through what? My advanced students, what is a purpose fulfilled through? If your sun is here in this quarter of the wheel, and we'll talk about what that means and maybe get some sharing from you guys if you'd like to share what it means for you. Purpose fulfilled through, thank you, Paul, transformation, transformation, very deep transformation. Yes, Melissa, thank you. So that's what we see when we're looking at 10. Now 13, here we have, yang, yin, yang. I know that one really well because that's the foundation for my personality sun, and that is the clinging fire. That's fire. So that means these next hexagrams here have a lot of fire to them. They have fire as their foundation. Now, what do you notice, my friends, when you look at not just the 13? So the 13 is abstract, collective circuitry. It's about sharing what you hear, you know, or sorry, listening. And then in the 33, it's about sharing what you hear if you are recognized and invited to share what you remember. But the 13 is the listener. So the next 7 gates. Where in the body graph are these 7 gates? Please let me know. 49, 30, 55, 37, 63 is abstract, or sorry, it's logical. And then there's 22 and 36. All of those, besides 1, are in solar plexus. Thank you, Paul. So, and yes, Julie. So the solar plexus then is what? Fiery, right? I've got fire over fire as my sun, my personality sun. This is purpose fulfilled through mind, because this quarter now that we've started with gate 13, this quarter is the quarter of initiations. So these gates, all of these gates, have a purpose fulfilled through their mind's process. And that leads us next. So this was, oh, and one more thing. I'll share you at the end because I don't want to get too complex. But what we're looking at is here, we went from here, 13, the bottom, right? So that would be the clinging fire. Let's look to the opposite and see what's going on over there. 13 and the opposite right here, 7 moving over to 46. What are we seeing? We're seeing exact opposite, and I think I forgot to do this for the last one, my apologies, but what would be the exact opposite of fire? River. it's water and fire, right? So that we know that there's going to be a lot more of this water type energy, or this yin type energy with the yang in the middle, then we're looking at, so opposites. These are opposites of what we're seeing going on over here. Opposites. Exact opposition to each other. So how my mind, my purpose fulfilled through my mind as a personality sun in gate 30, if I look exactly opposite, that fire over fire is balanced by water over water. The 29, the deep within the deep, the ability to say yes, or sometimes there is a no, but clear, deep commitments. When I have a core essence of desire that I am just, you know, really fired up about, I'm recognized, I'm invited, I'm emotionally clear. If I can bring ground in the earth, a clear commitment, 29, say yes to something with wholeheartedness, with that just clear knowing, that clarity that comes from riding my emotional wave, then that's part of how I fulfill my purpose as an incarnation cross of contagion. That's half the picture. That's my personality's mind's process. Okay, so now you can look in the wheel and look at yours. Where's yours? What's the thematic? What is it balanced by? And that's half of the story, part of the story, we could say, at least half of the incarnation cross of how you fulfill your purpose. Okay, and we're going to talk more about that in a little bit. So continuing on our journey, we went and looked at the 13 briefly. What's the foundation for the 25? So bonus points if you know what that foundation is for the 25 before I pick it out of the card deck. So we have yang, yin, yin. Ooh, yang, yin, yin. Does anybody know what that is? Let's look at yang, yin, yin and see where's the other yang, yin, yin. 51. So 2 yang, yin, yins stacked on top of each other. Gate 51 is what? What is the gate of? This is going to help you remember where all the energy, this kind of, yeah, shock. What shocks you? What can be shocking? Of all the elements, we have mountain, we have fire, we have wind, we have earth, we have river. What shocks? We have This one actually is sound. Lightning, thank you, Paul. And that's what I see on this card. You see that? Lightning, right? So this is called the arousing thunder. Gate 51 is the gate of shock. And this 25, which initiates or starts off the patterning for the rest of the 7 hexagrams, we're looking at people who have the arousing thunder as their basis of their hexagram. If their personality sun was here in one of these gates, their purpose is still fulfilled through mind, and their purpose is still about the initiation of mind into what it is to have this process of being human. And depending on their profile, right, the line values, they're either going to have a personal destiny and investigate it or research it or experiment with it, or they're going to be a natural at it. And if you know your line values, you can recognize why I'm saying those words. And we can study that more and beyond. I just want to keep it on the basic holistic overview picture. Or they're going to be a friend and externalize about it. They're going to be a messenger, a savior, a general, a heretic, and maybe rescue somebody with that gate. That's their process, their transpersonal destiny. Or they're going to be a role model of it when they reach their 50s. So you should know, if you're studying, what those line values were, why I said those words, right? So here we go, looking at this arousing thunder, what's on the opposite side of the wheel? If we take a look at what's on the opposite side of the wheel here, moving from, got my chat thing in the way. So 18, 48, 57, 32, 50, 28, and 44, 46. All of these gates have the opposition, which would be the yin on the bottom, and then yang yang. So we have a thunder, and then we have a gentle wind. What is this 57? What is that gate? Do you see how it says the gentle wind? It doesn't say it. It says it on this card, but it's 2 of these stacked on top of each other, the 57. So what does that say about the 57? Do you remember the Rave I Ching description is the penetrating breeze that gets down deep into the core. It is about hearing truth in the now. So that 57, you can see that this is part of all of these gates. In fact, where are all of these gates at in the body graph? All of these gates, this gentle wind, this intuitive clarity that's at the basis of all of these different splenic gates. Thank you, Kate. All of these gates are in the spleen. And the lead hexagram that sets the foundation for all of the splenic gates is the 46. Where's the 46? 46 is here, of course, because what's the ones that we're entering into the body graph, our investigation, we're entering into it with the direction gates and the love gates. And 46 is the love of the body. It is the mother of all fears that are in the body. Love of the body, want to take care of it, treat it like a temple, massage therapists and healers, body workers, practitioners of all kinds who take care of the body tend to have this gate. Really good at wanting to be able to help other people learn how to take care of their body. Benjamin says, indeed me. Yes. So that 46, then we can see the clarity, the intuition is what sets the foundation for all our hexagrams that talk about the well-being of the physical body, our ancient awareness center of the splenic center itself. So now we've taken a journey across all of the hexagrams, because remember, and I actually didn't show you, I don't know. Yeah, I showed you the earth here. Remember, we did that. I think I might not have showed you that one, and that one is this. So from 15, when we looked at oppositions, I didn't show you this, which is the mountain. And we can see that mountain over mountain is gate 52. And what is gate 52? The gate of? What's it called in the Rave I Ching? Gate 52. Darshana has this gate. I have the other side of it, 9, so I know it well because I tend to attract a lot of people who have 50. Thank you. Keeping still, stillness, right? Mountain over mountain. Isn't it interesting that all of these throat gates, we have so many throat gates, and one G center gate, right? But in the quarter of civilization, purpose fulfilled through form, we've got one gate that's sitting here that is in the root center. And I found it interesting that it was like, wow, why would be keeping still mountain? Well, when you look at this channel of concentration and we're observing, well, we've got the gate 9, the gate of being able to respond with the right details. And actually this whole channel is about responding because it's a generated channel. The 52 is knowing when to go to action. So you're in this stillness, waiting for the right details, the right moment to respond. So I just thought that was interesting to note. It's one of the ways that when I investigate into the body graph, and thank you for going on this journey with me because I can't do it alone. I don't have the focus to be able to sit there for this long period of time, to be able to have this kind of dialogue with somebody, unless there's somebody there, right? Because I'm a projector, I'm a split definition, and I need the other to discover inner truth. So we looked at the entire wheel. Now I want to point your attention, in case you don't know this yet, but and for most of you, this is going to be a review, but what are the 2 crosses that are in the G center? And we just saw how each of these gates sets the foundation for the following hexagrams. What are the 2 crosses? It's the only center where we have 2 incarnation crosses exactly there. What are those crosses named? Vessel of love and the Sphinx. Exactly. So the Sphinx, the vessel of love is self-explanatory, right? Love. It is transcendent, if you didn't know. It's about love through others, finding love through others, not that personal, individual, like love of the day-to-day process of just the one other. It's love through. Loving is the way that you are if you're a vessel of love. It's just your nature. However, with the Sphinx, what is that about? What does the Sphinx provide for us? We know love. What is Sphinx? Thank you, Paul. It is direction. So let's go back to our, leadership for sure, Kathy. Depending on what the person's design is, there might be a reluctant leader, they might be a heretical leader, they might be all kinds of different leadership with the Sphinx, depending on what else is going on in the body graph. But let's take a look. If we go back to the beginning, where we have the very first hexagram of gate 1, and that's actually the lead for the 16 faces. When Ra did the, and I talk about it in this article that I just gave you in the chat earlier, the 16 faces of the Godhead, that is going to talk to you about the way that we break this down, this hexagram structure, this wheel, into 16 specific parts. So just right now, we're looking at the 8 different houses of the I Ching, where we can break it down into, so this is the house, this is all the Yang foundation house, this is the Yang Yang Yin house, this is the firehouse, Yang Yin Yang, right? So I went over in each to give us a sense of the elements of the I Ching. But now I just want to focus your attention. If you know your Sphinx gates and your love gates, what would these gates be about? If the foundation it's setting is about direction, and this is creative direction, what are these other gates for? At their foundation, at their essence, what are they there for? What can you say about 43, 14, 34, 9, 5, 26, and 11, since the 1 is setting the foundation for all of these gates? Focus. Definitely focus, yeah. The gate of being able to focus in on the details, to concentrate. It's this gate 9, that's part of that channel. What else can we say about the 1? 1 is creative, yang. It's pushing into this energetic field that wants to create. Creative self-expression is what a gate 1 is, right? So what else are we saying about this? If this is a direction gate, what else are these about? They kind of lead us off into different directions, don't they? If you think, let's think about a 43, insight, the gate of insight, where it's giving us this energy to brilliantly intellectualize or conceptualize about something new that's coming from the third ear, the inner ear, that knowing, that genius, freaky knowing that can be expressed or not. But this is direction, isn't it, for humanity? Remember we said the 2343 is that channel of structuring. It brings something new out into the world in a way that can either be dismissed as a freak, or if it's understood and it's genius, it's a genius. It just is that way. So that's creative. That gives us direction. What is a 4323 good for? Really good for, especially guiding 3420s. Really helpful to guide 3420s. If you're a 3420 and you know any 4323s in your life, mental projectors, and as an example, that's their only design. 4323, they're here to help ask questions and guide other people. As a projector, that's what they're here for, to advise, to bring things to efficient structures, right? So I think I have some 4323s in this group. Feel free to call yourself out and to share, because that is definitely, you provide direction, don't you? 14. Hi, I have a 14. It's my unconscious son. This 14 is the gate of power skills. It brings a lot of resources into a small business. It has this capacity to slave away and respond and respond and respond and work really, really hard. It provides the energy to empower the direction of the opposite side of the channel, which is gate 2. So there's that energy. What is a 34? 34 is the gate of power itself. Power itself to respond lightning fast in the now, to be empowered. That power is for themselves, right? So that is providing the being itself direction. Then we have the focus, which Jella was giving us there's a focus here. There's a kind of energy in the 9 that has this ability to respond to where the attention needs to be focused, so that the details are taken care of and that we can concentrate on what needs to happen. A 5. Now 5 is very, very special. 5 is all about having this capacity to have a response. I'm going to scroll down a little bit so we can see where it is. Yep. See, there was a 9, there was a 5, there's a 34. Respond and be in the flow. Now the 5 itself and the 15 is one of the channels, the only channel that is there in all life forms. Every single life form has a 515. It creates a generator aura that is so much larger than your average generator. It really has a lot of power to suck other people into their flow. When they're responding, when they're correct, and they're finding their satisfaction through their flow, they have a direction. In fact, if you look at this core power column between the throat center and the sacral, that energy, that 15-5, will bring everybody in the group. 3 to 5 people will bring everybody into their flow. And that's why gate 5 is the gate of culture. It is the gate of this is the way we do things around here. Like when I was working at a dive shop, Jack's Diving Locker, way back in the day, I was voted Employee of the Year one year because I was so valued by being able to get people into, and be enthusiastic and empower the vision and commit to the group. And anyway, this is very strong energy, this 5. So it can bring a kind of direction, creative direction, like, no, this is the way we do things around here. The 26. Now this is a huge gate of power. All of these gates are very powerful. Let's see, the 2 that we wouldn't consider to have power, so to speak, is the Ajna Center, because that's conceptualization and they're not motors. But the 26, let me come back to that because I see Kate has a question. Yes. Can you explain what you mean when you said every life form has a 515? So when Ra was given human design, he was given not human design itself. He structured human design from the information that he downloaded and heard as a voice within. If you look at his design, he's very acoustic, he's very detailed, and he's very practical. So he went into human design, but he was given the design of forms. And if you look in the Science of Differentiation book, if you look in this book, you will find the design of forms back here somewhere, and you'll see all of the different plants. He could have spent 20 years talking about plants, or mammals or birds or fish or reptiles or insects. So all of those forms that are alive have the 515. It's a fundamental building block of what it means to be alive. So hopefully that helps, Kate. Let me know if not. So we're back to our story. And I could go on like this for days. Oh gosh. Oh good. I'm not even at an hour yet. So I hope you guys are having fun. If you have any questions, please feel free to continue to interact and dialogue. The 26, I can see that I'm not going to have time to go around the whole wheel in the same fashion, but you get the idea. Maybe it'll be, oh, thank you, Julie. I'm having a lot of fun. Maybe it'll be something we can do down the road some more, or you can just be inspired to start doing your own investigation into the wheel itself. But I learn, hi, if you look at my design, I learned through actually talking and hearing myself talk and teach, because my design is right brain, right mind. And so, yeah, this is a lot of fun for me. So thanks for being here. Back to our story. Where did my graph go? Here. So the 26, I love this gate. Well, yeah, this is a really interesting gate. I've had a lot of partners who have the 26, but this gate is just so interesting. My daughter has this gate. It's the gate of the egoist. It has some willpower. Man, this gate has some cojones. It is linking up from the ego center to the spleen, and this gives us the channel of the transmitter. This is a trickster gate, somebody who has this capacity to be able to work and rest, but be able to have this quality of direction because it's guiding the tribe on which way to go. Oh, you need to buy, this is the like used car salesman or any salesman really. It's just a salesperson game. But you need to buy this refrigerator, honey, because it's the best refrigerator and it's going to keep your food really cold and it's got really great power, you know, application in eco, you know, friendly, all of that good stuff. And this is the way you need to go because this is what is going to ensure our tribe's survival. So the 26 is giving us some direction, isn't it? Now let's look into, I'll get me my chat and see what you guys are saying. Daria says, LOL, true. Someone said it's the gate of a liar. Would you say that as well? So now, iPads, that's somebody named iPad. I have no idea who iPad is, but my friend, when we're looking at different gate thematics, this human design body graph has everything that makes us human. So wouldn't you say lying or misrepresenting or massaging the truth or exaggerating? I would say that exaggeration is probably more applicable to gate 26 because this is a memory gate, and memory gates have this ability to manage or establish the memory of the tribe through asking a question in a particular way of someone else. Couldn't you kind of get them to see it your way? And that's what I think most 26s are like. You could call it lying. You know, check out, look into these people and see if that, so here we go. Yana's saying storytelling. That's possible. Daria says, yes, exaggeration is true. And yes, I've had, like I said, several people who were 26s in their personality, sun or earth, as a partner in the past. And so I do know that this gate definitely has this tendency to manipulate the truth. The reason I'm attracted to those is because, oh, I've got the 44 a couple of times on the other side, and that's a love gate, which we can go into another story. So, because I want to get my point across here with the 26. So yeah, you could say it could be a liar. It could be that's why they call it a trickster, a storyteller, a sacred trickster, somebody who kind of manipulates. The 44 manipulates as well, but it massages really the ego of the other to get them to get their best work out when we have that as a partnership. Work for the tribe so that together as a tribe we can all survive and have material success, because this channel right here is the center channel, which is part of the stream of capitalism. Okay, so it's not just about, if capitalism, you know, it's got to be of benefit to the customer as well, right? We've got to make sure that everybody wins if we want to truly have a thriving, sustainable capitalistic structure. So there's everyone everywhere, right? All kinds in this design. So Daria is saying, Nathan's calling it creative truth telling. And Daria is saying, yes, not so much the liar, just not telling the whole story. Thank you, Daria. I have a story. Somebody with a gate 26 in their design told me that they had left their wife and that, they moved out, which was true, left their wife and moved out. But then when he went back in to move with his wife, it was over. And I believed him. Silly me. Anyway, found out it wasn't true. So yeah, only tell them what they need to know, says Kathy. Now, Kathy, on the other hand, she has this whole channel on conscious, and that is a definite way to guide the tribe, because you've got to give them some kind of focus. What do they need to know? And iPad says that's more real to me, not telling the whole story. Yeah, totally. Daria, no, it wasn't your phrase. Kathy said, oh, thank you. You know someone with this gate, and it makes sense. Daria, excellent. Thank you, Julie. So I'm going to go back to our focus so I don't spend the whole time on this little piece right here, because I want to get into, I'm just going to go into 2 of these, right? So we're going to do this 1 and then 10, and I'll talk to you about why that's important. And then you can follow the same structure around the whole hexagram and do your investigation that way. And this will help guide you to understanding where things are. So now if we look at 11, here's the last of the creative family, the yang, yang, yang family. That's their foundation hexagram. 11 is abstract. It's here in the Ajna center, which is all about conceptualization. And it is the gate of ideas. It's also called the gate of peace. And what is this about? This energy to have all of these abstract ideas that are here to be shared with others through story. Here's the gate of the storyteller, really. The gate of being able to share, I believe, and here's my story about why I believe that, to stimulate the collective, the world at large, to believe something. This is part, it's 56, is part of the cross of education. So to be able to educate people, humanity, we need a good story, don't we? Look at all the fables that we've had in the past where people would tell a story that had some kind of thing, a lesson at the end, right? So we have that there, we have it. Direction. Let's give humanity a direction because they need it, and the only way we're going to be able to do that is stimulate them to believe in something through sharing a story, and that will give them, and that's a creative way of giving them some kind of direction. So now we see gate 1, following gates are all giving us some kind of direction, aren't they? So if that's true, then we can take a look at the rest, and this is what my homework is to you, is to look at the rest of the direction gates, which would be 1, 13, because these are our Sphinx gates, 2, and 7. And what do you notice about the rest of these gates? How do they provide direction? That could be something like, if I was teaching a college class, I would assign that as like, here's your term paper. Write to me something about that, because that would be really fascinating to hear from each of you, particularly if it's your incarnation cross sun, because your personality sun, because that's what your purpose in this life is fulfilled through that gate. Okay, so now let's look at 10. Gate 10, we see, I'm going to pull up my little card again, and that is the yang, yang, yin, where are you? Arousing thunder? No, that's the other way around. Yang, yang. Give me yang, yang, yin, people. Where are you? Oh, did I drop it? Yang, yang, yin. Do you guys remember what it was? Because it's not here. Yang, yang, yin. Isn't that lake? I don't have it here. Yeah, it's lake. So that's lake, and it's not in my little thing, so it must be downstairs because I was playing with my cards yesterday, and Nathan and I were working on his why statement and playing with these cards are so cool. They're the Gene Keys cards. Lots of fun. Get you some good like language, juicy language to play with. So anyway, that's lake. And what we're looking at, the 10, if you follow it all around, this is love. Love of self, gate 10, as also it's about the transcendent behavior gate. So let's see. Oh, iPad is Natalie. Thank you, Julie. Hi, Natalie. Oh, so nice to know. Let's see. What time did class start? Okay, so yes, the class started in GMT. I'll get back to you, Daria, because God, I can't do math in my head and I have no idea about the GMT. If somebody else knows, please feel free to answer, Daria. So love. We saw all of those wonderful Sphinx gates that give us our direction, that set the tone for the following hexagrams in this life. Now let's look at this love gate, gate 10, which is the love of transcendent love of the universe as it is. Also, this is a personal love, self-love, love of self, okay? So if we're looking at gate 10, we know, of course, yes, this is about love. So how is gate 58 about love? Anybody who knows gate 58, have it in your chart, want to share exactly what that is in your own words? So what is the love? I have this gate. I love this gate. It's one of my favorite gates, and it's one of the hardest, I think, it's one of the hardest gates to have as a not self, because you love life and you love this other. It's a personal love gate. It really is. It's a love of life, vitality and joyousness. Thank you, Kajela. Exactly. So it's hard to have as a love gate because it is part of the channel of what? Channel of 58, gate 58 to gate 18. What is this channel about? It's about correct bitching. Judgment, correction. Yeah, gate of correction at gate 18. And then the channel is called channel of judgment. If it's in a not self, it's bitching. It's really critical. My ex-husband told me that I was very critical. I didn't know I was critical until he told me. I was just trying to make life better for us, for everyone involved. However, in the not self, you might be nitpicky or put out this energy that is, oh, you could do it better. You know, you could do it better this way, or you know, it could look better this way. You're constantly looking to make improvements, right? And if you take it personally, which the 58th gate is collective, it is not about personal correction and judgment. What's really its vital fuel for, it fuels the whole stream of taste. If we're looking at this body graph, fuels this whole stream so that we can have a more perfected life process, very logical, organized process. And so that's what that 58 is. I keep getting distracted by the wonderful chats in here. Thank you, Julie. Making it better for the whole. And yes, Natalie, I'm trying not to call you iPad. Natalie Braw's wife does have this gate, yeah. And 38. So next gate that we have, 38. Why? How could 38 be some kind of love energy? How could we remember this gate as a love energy? Well, I know, for example, if we look on the opposite side, gate 28 is a love gate. It's love of purpose, it's called. So if we're looking at 38, how could it, well, it empowers the love of purpose. Just like how I said the 14 empowers the vision, the direction in the group, that 38, you've got to have love, life enough to have the fighting spirit to provoke or to give this energy into fueling your struggle to be empowered, to be uplifted. And this 38th gate, if you've got a love, no, yes, there was love of life, this vitality here. The first line of the 58th gate was love of life. But the 38, it's got this powerful juice to want to struggle and to want to fight. And you know what? If you love something enough, if you're passionate about it, don't you fight for it? You know, if you're passionate about someone, right? You fight for that someone. If you're really passionate, you fight, you struggle, you get empowered. So that's how I can remember, for me, 38, being able to be one of this kind of love in the body graph. 54. Oh, this 54. If we look at 54, it's in the Pluto is in it right now. And 54 is the marrying maiden. It's the gate of this drive and this ambition to rise up and transform. 54 is not doing it for herself. Let's say it's the gate of the concubine, the gate of the marrying maiden. Yes, I'm going to marry and I'm going to rise up and I want to be the queen someday. But she's not doing it out of selfish reasons for herself. She wants to bring her whole tribe up with her, right? That whole tribe is coming up with her, and that is a love. It's a kind of love, isn't it? It's a tribal love. It's a love to be able to make it better for the whole. Yes. So then, and amen comes from Natalie, who has that. Julie says, marry for the tribe. Exactly. So that the tribe can have a better life, so that the tribe can survive. And isn't that kind of capitalistic or like money driven? Well, this is the stream of capitalism. And doesn't that bring, if you marry into money, doesn't that bring a huge transformation? Heck yeah. So that's how I can remember 54 and how the love works there. Now 61, boy, I love this gate. 61 is the gate that is in the head center. You can see it right here. And this is my driving force, my unconscious driving force in the third line. It's why I can do what I do a lot of times, is because I am here to find inspiration. I love knowing the mysteries. I've been studying them since I was a kid. And that 61, again, in the individual circuitry in that middle column there, is all about empowerment and passion. And you've got to love something if you're going to study it. Hi, I love human design. I've been studying it for 5 years straight, and I will do it and talk about it as much as possible, no matter what the conditions are. As long as somebody's recognizing and inviting me and I feel like I have something to share, I love doing it. So that is part of how I see love in the 61st gate. Now, some of this stuff, I haven't heard Ross say that. Some of this stuff is you're hearing me talk, okay? A lot of these things you might have heard Raw talk. I'm sure, Natalie, you're recognizing a lot of things, but just to let you know. And then what else do we have chat-wise? Here's Natalie. For me, it's more like using my energy to support the tribe to bring everyone up. Yes, and that's what that 54 does. Using your energy to support the tribe to bring everyone up. And if those of you who have been involved in this last few years with me in this group, you have watched, in my study group, you've watched how Natalie has started to step in to roles to help support us in our tribal energy and to help everyone move forward and up. Because you can see her offering her support in the groups and informing everybody that, you know, hey, I'm available to talk. I'm here in my cave doing my thing, and I love human design. I'm studying it, and if you need help, please let me know. So that's how she's fulfilling her process as having that whole channel of transformation. Okay, so 60. How does 60 give us love? Well, again, it's individual. Oh boy, well, that's interesting. So we have, let's see, this is a love gate. Here's a love gate. Here's a love gate. This is facing a love gate. This one is a love gate. This one's not a love gate, but it's facing the gate of divorce. Does that count? The 60 is here in the root center. Sometimes I get confused with the BG5 and I want to say BG5, and then I go into doing my best to go back into human design terminology and then accentuating with the BG5 language. So the root center, this is our center for having this drive and stamina, this pressure, this stress, good stress, bad stress, all kinds of stress, physical stress in the root center. The 60 is the gate of limitation. So love, how can love be in limitation? Love, for me, is about overcoming limitations. Wouldn't you agree? When we come together in relationship, there's usually some kind of compromise. Oh, he likes this kind of music, I like that kind of music. Or this person is, you know, doing this, and we've got to overcome our differences and get beyond the limitations in order to combine and have this passionate love experience, right? So that's what I see with gate 60 for me. Anybody, feel free to share if anything else comes up for you too. And Julie's saying yes. So yeah, that's where I feel it might happen. Now 41, you guys have heard me talk about 41 if you've been in class, right? 41, I love that gate. Here's the 41. And that 41 is the gate of love of dreams. What else is it the gate of, my friends? While I get a sip of water. It's getting hot in here. I need to move back these lights. Gate of fantasy. Yep, fantasy. A little bit more graphic language. One more F word. What is that? The love of gate 41 is the initiation codon. Thank you, Julie. 41 says, you want to be human? You want to be human? You want to be in love and be human? Love is fucking, says Ra. I love that I get to say that. So much fun. Anyway, 41 is going to give us this energetic, just this pressure to desire, because that's what's on the other side. We look at the other side of the channel, 41. Thank you, Julie. I got to provoke you into saying it. So I got to say it too. I made you go first. Made you. Thank you for answering the question. The 41 is the dreamer. 41 is somebody who has this pressure to desire, to want to have a new experience, to daydream, to fantasize. The whole channel, hi, that's my channel. I only have one channel that's conscious, and I've got a couple of 41s there. So this is about this pressure to want to have a new experience with another person. Love is sex, says the 41. For me in relationship, I've got to have a good sex life or it's just not going to work. So anyway, that's the love connection when we're looking at the 41. The love, that's an interesting piece too, and we go more into it. We're going to do a relationship workshop in a little bit later this fall, but and we go over all of the love gates in detail. But one of the things about the 41 to remember is that if you've got this undefined 41, an undefined center, and you're basing your relationship only on sex, be very careful, because that's not where you place your authority, okay? That's my spiel for now. Now the 19, gate 19, if we look down here in the root center, so it's now, look at, it's the opposite here. It fuels, yeah, need, says Natalie. It's the pressure to need. Oh, I need you, says somebody to somebody else. And that's love. I need you. Together we can be supportive, and I have the sensitivity to recognize the principles that you have, and together, boy, we could have this marriage. Oh, that gate in an open center. I'm sure you're talking about 41. Yeah, Daria. And Ben saying, or Julie saying to Ben, I don't find it hard if it's the right person and entered correctly, but very important to keep things inside. Absolutely, yeah, with that 41. First. Oh, you have it in an open center, Daria, the 19? Yeah, that gate in an open center, the pressure to need. So this is another 3 times. So Daria, how about I ask you, what do you notice about how would this gate give you this pressure, this love energy? Would you like to share anything about it? Needy, feeling needy. I need your support. Yeah, is it something like that? Yeah, so we can see, and that's tribal support, just like how we were talking about the 54 on the other side. This is a tribal pressure, right? I'm marrying for love. Oh, now I need you. Wanting support, says Daria, who has this 3 times. So there we have it. There's our exploration. And boy, I would like to do this some more, over and over again, until I get this really down with all kinds of rich details. That was fun. So that was above and beyond what I had planned on doing. There's one more thing I want to show you guys. And let's see if we have enough time, because this is usually, oh yeah, we got plenty of time. Yay! I hope you guys enjoyed that. Yeah, glad you agree, Julie. So the one more thing that I want to tell you, we've gone through an overall big picture by entering into the hexagram through the gates of the Sphinx and the gates of love, the vessel of love, right? So 2 incarnation crosses. This shows you the perfect, beautiful symmetry of this mandala. This shows you now you know where the quarters, where the wheel is divided in half, 1 and 2. Real easy to remember, right? I've got it behind me. Isn't that fun? It's the first time I've done that. The first gate, all yang on one side. The second gate, all yin on that other side. And as you keep following each of these gates, direction, ooh, love, ooh, direction, ooh, love, all the way around, okay? So now we've divided it into 8. One more way to divide it, you can divide it into 16. So now this is where I want to invite, if any of my deepening students feels comfortable with what I taught on Monday, please feel free to speak up and tell me, how can we divide this into the godheads, quote unquote godheads. Now remember how I was saying Ra created human design from the synthesis. He structured it and he put it out into the world, But the voice did not tell him, you might have heard me say this before, the voice did not tell him, hey, did you know you got 4 different aura types and these are what they're called, manifester, generator, projector, and reflector. Voice didn't say that. He synthesized that later to help give people a structure, a way of making decisions as themselves, because when he was doing readings, he didn't give them their strategy and authority because it hadn't been invented yet. Same thing here for quote unquote godheads. Now, we're not getting religious here. We're just looking at thematic archetypes of what each of these gates. So if there's a relationship between gates 1 through the next 7 gates, all of these gates have a relationship to each other. We can break this down even further and split that group of 8 in half and have 4. And that's where I want to show you how it works. Okay, so I'm going to show you, let's see if I can use this other, I found a really great, you guys, if you want to get this, somebody put it up on Pinterest, and I've been looking in mine. I had been given this graphic by the creator at Human Design Canada, and I lost it. I couldn't find it, so I was looking all over like I want that big, because look, you can get deeper into it. See, this is a high resolution, so I would grab this while you can. I'm going to save it too, but here you go in the chat so that you can grab this too. Somebody posted it, and it is just a beautiful, beautiful image that shows us the faces of the godheads. Now again, this is not religion, this is just showing us archetypal thematics of each of those hexagrams. Now you can see, here's the one. So let me see if I can make this bigger. That's too big. There. I don't have any other way of going in between. My apologies. Here, we'll go here so that you can see. You should be able to see that here's the one, right? And there's that line straight down the middle dividing the 1 and from the 11 into half. And so now we've got a godhead, right? So the godhead, let's see, you can't, I need to save this and then put it on a slide one at a time. The godhead is Hades, as you can see. Hades, these genetic codons that are available for us looking at these 4 hexagrams together, these are all related in that they have the same genetic basic foundational structure. Okay, so you see that these are Hades. Now I'm going to go back because my other graphic is much bigger, better. Loki did a much better job with this one than the other one here. I'm going to want to ask you, what do you notice about gates 1, 43, 14, and 34? What's the main difference? What's the main difference between these gates, those 4 gates? Yes, and your main archetype would be from your personality sign. You're basically from this archetype, Julie. 41, you would be from the 41, or does it work differently with the godheads? Nope, it's the same. It's exactly the same. So what do you guys notice about these hexagrams? So we see 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4 yang lines. So that means only the top 2 are different. So the top line is different as well as the bottom, because something's got to change, right? The top 2 lines are different, but the bottom 4 lines, the bottom 4 are all exactly the same, and that determines the godhead. So you can see within the wheel, if you know all your Sphinx gates and all your love gates, you can enter into the wheel and find the godheads in that respect. And we know that the first godhead is Janus. Isn't it interesting? And Ra would call himself the first student of human design because he was like downloaded all this stuff and then he had to explain it. So he researched and investigated with all his 10 first lines, and then he brought this out to us. This godhead course, I remember listening to a few years ago before I became, way before I became very professional as an analyst student even, and I was just like fascinated, like a lot of it went over my head. I started listening to it again recently, and it's really, really interesting. So you can buy just your godhead on Jovian Archive if you want to. And when although I will say this, if you're very new to your experiment, I bought mine and I had no clue what he was talking about. It didn't really help very much. But you know, now down the road, I do understand more. So anyway, that's how we get into the Godhead. So if I look at this, I'm just going to go around the wheel with you as we look at these Godheads, and just share a little bit about these. Like, for example, here's Minerva. Minerva is the Roman goddess of knowledge and learning. And remember her, this is Athena in the Grecian language, Greece, right? So Minerva, Athena, you could pick a god for each of these gates, but overall, in the groups of 4, he divided it into 16 so you can see the relationship within each other and not make it so complex, right? 16 is not too bad. This is a full pantheon of basic thematics of what he calls, now this is getting into cosmology, crystal bundles that are just clouding, surrounding this earth, that are being programmed from the outside of our cell, our human earth cell that we are. We're getting programmed by neutrinos all the time. And these crystals of consciousness, these are personality crystals that are bundled around the earth. They're getting bombarded with that programming too. But when we get those crystals come into incarnation, into form, we get imprinted by whatever the sun is actually in that moment of our birth. So as an example, if I go over here to Kali, there's my goddess head. There's my goddess head, and she is the destroyer of false devotion. Okay, so Kali is, it could have been any other kind of goddess like that, the dark god. There's other names for her, right? All of these godheads, there's myths, right? There's myths that are behind them. And so that's the thematic of what that energy is like as it streams from wherever all those neutrinos are coming from. You can see that this is part Aquarian and part Pisces. That's the star field that all of those neutrinos are actually coming through. And then Ra was given the data so that we can have the particular place in the degrees of where the sun is, so that we know the programming, the genetic programming, the predispositions that make us us. So isn't that fascinating? So now, as we're looking at this, I just want to go over briefly again the purpose fulfilled through, that whole concept, so that we understand it, because I remember teaching it in Monday's class and we were a little confused. So I want to go over it again and see if I can make this really, really clear. We're going to begin not with gate 1, where we did earlier in this session. We're going to begin over here with the quarter of initiation and mutation. Any questions before here we go, yes. So my personality sun is 57-1, so mine would be Christ. And Natalie says, so our actions are all flavored by the Godhead. Yes. Okay, good questions. Let me get into the structuring, and you're going to understand this. It's funny that I say structuring, but yeah, let me see if I can contagiate you with the structure as I understand it to be. So what we're going to do is I'm going to show you, if I could scroll down a little bit. There we go. Kali, initiation. Can I make this smaller? No, I can only make it bigger or smaller. So here we see Kali. I'm going to start over here on the left-hand side. Why would I start here, the first quarter? Well, that's where Ra called it, quarter 1. If you look in your definitive book of human design, okay, and you look at the incarnation crosses, everyone has 4 gates, right? That's what makes a cross in the wheel. So one of those gates will always be where the sun was positioned at the time that you were born. So your personality sun, if you look on your body graph, let's look at a body graph, and that way I'm getting really clear with you. I think is it here? No, I have a couple of here. Personality, I'm looking at Ra. So a human design chart has a personality sun right here. That is where the sun was positioned at the time of your birth. So now if you go over to this beautiful graph that Human Design Canada has, you can buy, I believe, if you go to their website. You look for your sun. So the question that Kate had, my sun is in 57, so would I be Christ? And that's absolutely correct, yes. So we begin over here, though, with the initiation of mind, of what it means to be human, is that we are self-reflected consciousness, right? We have this ajna, and we have this personality. We have two different crystals. We have a body design, that unconscious, that red stuff, and we have a personality, conscious design. And they come together and create what we are. Now, people who are born in this quarter, so remember, to find the quarter, you just look for the Sphinx gate, and you look for the Sphinx gates here and the love gate. There's Sphinx, love, Sphinx. You just find the first Sphinx gates here after gate 41. Why would I say that? Gate 41, remember, is the initiating codon. It's the start codon that brings us into the Rave New Year. So after that, we have the Sphinx gate that sets the tone for the next 7 gates. And then we have love that sets the tone for the next 7 gates. So we have people who are about direction when it comes to initiation. So all people who are born with their personality sun in this area of the quarter are purpose fulfilled through their mind's process. Okay, their mind's process in this life. And it's going to show up in varying different ways because we've got different types of humans, the auric types. We've got different authorities depending on their design. We've got 12 different profiles. And again, remember, profiles being the costume of what you're wearing in this life or how you fulfill your purpose. That's going to radically change you from any other. So as an example, I'm a cross of contagion. I'm a 3-5 cross of contagion. I'm an emotional projector 3-5 cross of contagion. And that's going to be very, very different than a manifestor or a generator who's a different profile. Okay, but it's still purpose fulfilled through mind. Mind's process, direction, and initiation. I heard Ross say that these are the people who are here to wake up first. Time to wake up, guys. Wake up first and get into form. World of form. What's after this? Let's see if I can scroll down a little bit. Civilization. So we can see that initiation comprises of Kali, Mitra, Michael, and Janus. And again, those are thematics. Don't start Kali worshiping. That's not the point. It's not about going to Archangel Michael and praying every day. It's about really identifying, getting into your costume, your gate thematic, and you do that through strategy and authority. Now, studying as we're doing like this is fascinating and it's fun. So here's the question that Natalie had. So let me go back to reading your question exactly because I want to make sure. Are our actions flavored by the Godhead? I heard, this is what I heard, that if you are not in alignment with you, if you are, let's see, if you are just living out the normal consciousness of form and you're not necessarily following your strategy and authority, whether you find it through human design or naturally on your own, you are going to live out the dead myth of your Godhead. Natalie, do you know why I would say that? The dead myth of my Godhead, you know why I would say that, right? So that's definitely a case. What does that mean? So let's look at the energy of what Kali is. Kali is the destroyer. If we took a look at what these energies are in the totality of all of these streaming, programs, they're coming through Kali. Personality sun, my personality sun is in the gate of desire. My example would be I was interested, we'll say, in domination and submission games as a not self person. I was invited into it. I was recognized and invited into it. I snapped it up, that opportunity, job opportunity, and it was not something that necessarily led me on a healthy path. I had a lot of pain and agony and suffering that came because of it, and ultimately I broke the bond with it because it wasn't working and I moved on. So that's an example. If you know the Kali myth at all, it is she's standing on top of Shiva, right? She's got like skulls and like blood dripping from her mouth, and she is just totally dominant. Now, if you look at my design, you can see a lot of other places where that's coming from as well. Undefined ego center, control gate 21, gate 21 in the line 3. And so Natalie is saying this is wicked. My not self anger does always want to chop off someone's head off. Real funny. Exactly, Natalie. That's why I saw, when I saw your tattoo and I saw your art, your images, I was like, dang, that I could relate. You know, that when my anger got, I used to get really angry. And besides the fact of having Kali as my son, and then gate 21, which is a manifested energy, can get really angry when I'm thwarted, I'm not in control. It is funny. The dead myth of your Godhead, it shows up in your life. You might make decisions based on that energy. Okay. Now, Kali has a more motherly side to her. She has a tender and compassionate side, but that's not the side I was living necessarily. Sometimes I was. It depended on my mood, my emotional state. So Julie's asking, do you know anything about the Keeper of the Wheel and how this shows up for the self, not self? Yeah. So now for deeper, beyond, I know about Kali because I was born there. These other ones, I can't give you deeper information, but it's not that expensive on Jovian if you want to get the just your 16 face lecture. It will give you more details. Okay. So, and Natalie said, funny how I've been making skull necklaces for years. And remember how you gave me, and I was all excited, you gave me a skull necklace, a scully necklace, and I was like I still wear it. I love it. I think it's amazing. So anyway, there's the death myth of the Godhead showing up. Let's move on into civilization real briefly, because I don't want to get stuck too long. Move down. Here we go. Civilization. So here's Maya, Lakshmi, Parvati, and Mat. I don't know these very well besides Lakshmi. Lakshmi, as we know, is the goddess of wealth. We look at gate 45 as an example. 45 is the ruler, the king, the pasha, the queen, the emperor, empress. This is the person that says, I have, right? This is somebody who has, because they are the leader of the tribe, whether they have it defined or in an undefined center, what kind of type they're, again, depending on what their design is going to show whether or not they have that kind of energy actually manifest in their life. Ma is justice, says Daria. An Egyptian goddess. Yes, I can see that she's Egyptian justice. Awesome. But I do have details, more details on this in that article I wrote for Jovian Archive. If you go into that link that I posted at the beginning of the class, which I'll give it to you again, so that you can go down and find. So Ben is asking, does all those figure have a specific energy impact for the gate? Yeah, absolutely. What it's showing you is that each of these gates have a genetic predisposition to be very similar to each other, because the top two lines are the only thing that's different. The fifth and the sixth line switches. The bottom four are exactly the same. So it has a basic genetic component. And these themes, these godheads, they were selected by Ra through his research into the gods so that it would give you a general framework for understanding those four gates. So so this is one of the ways that, maybe this is the hard way as far as how I studied human design, but I went into each of the gates, right? Now I'm showing you a key, a thematic to go into maybe a group at a time and study those four along with, particularly if it's your personality sun, study that Godhead and just observe. How is that message, how is that energy manifesting in your life? You might find some interesting correlations, okay? So that's, again, civilization. Yeah, I want to do this myself, Julie. I'm like, wow, why didn't I think of this earlier? Why didn't somebody say this earlier? This would have been awesome to be able to have you study those four. Just take a four, depending on what's going on in the sun right now. What's going on in the sun? Gate 28. Gate 28, we know, is in the splenic center. So if you go up to the splenic center, you would be starting right now with, yep, Minerva. Athena. Athena has been giving me a lot of energy lately. So Nathan's giving us the Hades information. I'm going to read that when I get to that quarter. Absolutely. Thank you. So what we're looking at now is, when we're looking at the bottom, civilization, these are people. Let me get all these gates here, if you can see them. There we are. If your gate is here, your purpose is fulfilled through form, through actual building of the form and the structures in our society. So also look into these four godheads, goddesses, actually, if you take a look at them, right? So next we have the quarter of duality. Over here on the right-hand side, you can see that we have got Thoth, Harmonia, Christ, and Minerva. Well, golly, these are all very sweet and highly educational, right? They're all teaching us a lesson, aren't they? Harmonia could have also been, I believe it's like the goddess Aphrodite, or, you know, that kind of energy. This is duality, is purpose fulfilled through bonds. This is about the bonds that we make. So here we begin in the initiation of mind. We continue with building a form, a structure of humanity, the civilization. And what does civilization need in order to continue and to thrive? It needs people. So we got to have some bonding happening here. We got to have some friction. There's gate 6. Intimacy, right? We got to have some energy to be able to have the ability to bond with others. What creates a lot of bonding? Ooh, tribal support structures that give us this energy. Ooh, we want to feel safe and secure and healthy in our bodies. So the bonds that we make generally tend to help do that, don't they? Don't we like to bond with people who make us feel safe? Ooh, love thy neighbor, yeah? So you can see how if your sun is here in the quarter of duality, your purpose is fulfilled through bonding, the bonds actually that you make. And again, in that link that I sent you, if you go down, look through it, it'll tell you a little blurb about each of the gods. And that's beyond that, I don't have anything more for you. Got to look it up on Google, which is really, really easy to do. So our last piece is mutation. Mutation are these gates from 1 to 19. And we see that we've got, if I go back a little bit, back up, we have got Hades, and we have got Prometheus. And my apologies, I keep bouncing in and out on you guys, but it's hard to move that little toolbar and find the chat and everything with this. Next time I've learned not to have a live web page as part of my presentation, but something that I can actually move about in easier. So here's Hades, Prometheus, Vishnu, which we know Vishnu is a Hindu god, and these other two are from the Roman and the Greek mythology. And then we have keepers of the wheel. So what we're going to do, I want to go back to my chat and read what, scroll down, read what Ra has here that Nathan posted for me. Hades rules, because this is where Nathan's personality sun is in gate 1. Life is about ends. And yet, how you get there, that's the difference. If you get there as yourself, you get there in your own time, you get there in your own way, and you get there in a way that is correct for you. See, all of the weapons of the gods, I have, you have, we have a much more powerful weapon. We have a God destroyer. How quaint. Follow your strategy and authority and stand on the same ground as the gods. So this is one of the lessons, and thank you, Nathan, for posting that, because it illustrates it beautifully. The reason he gave us human design is that so that we don't have to live out the dead myths of our Godhead and be just programmed by them to live that. Because again, that's only 70% of who we are. That's just your conscious personality imprinting, right? There's a whole world of other ways that you could make your decisions based on your design, rather than me, let's say as an example, just going after these desires. Desires are so transient. That's where that energy is going, right? That if we look at the stream of the human experiential way from the 40 to the 30 to the 36 to the 35, when we're looking at that energy flow, the next beyond the 30 is a channel of transitoriness, the design of an experiencer, the strength of the experiencer, the design of a jack of all trades. Here's my not self, my friends. Here's me before human design and younger, when I was younger. Oh boy, did I have lots of experiences. Lots of it having to do with sexual experiences because of my design and making lots of bonds and breaking lots of bonds and making tons of mistakes. But jumping into things because I wanted to have that damn experience. No matter what, I would take risks. I would want to be in control. And I was doing it out of these transient, channel of transitoriness, desires that come and go based on the ebb and the flow of my emotional wave. So strategy and authority gives us the tools to go, oh, wait a minute. I don't need to follow the dead programming myth of my Godhead. I am new and different. I am a 9-centered being. I am a new type of human. I am not that old 7-centered conditioning programming that's up there in the transits and being programmed by the stars beyond. I can follow my own authority. I can be my own authority and wait and be patient and not just follow every damn dream and fantasy that I have, but rather let those dreams and fantasies be for me unless somebody invites me to share them with them. And that's part of my design. So anyway, let's go into these questions. Yes, it is blessing, strategy, and authority, Natalie says. Ben's leaving. Thanks. Amazing. Awesome. So in reality, Julie says, wouldn't we all be a flavor of the Godheads that represent our personality design, Sun Earth? Absolutely, Julie. You can look in your design and look at the opposite side of the wheel and say, okay, where's my other Godhead? But it's the primary one that Ra focused on, where your purpose is fulfilled, is through Kali. But of course, your incarnation cross is your life purpose. So you are emerging. It's just like what strategy and authority is doing. It's merging everything together so that you're able to be a holistic being and not just that and any other programming. So thank you, Natalie, for the recognition. If I'm looking back here, where's my other guy? Ooh, Thoth. Yes, I love Thoth. I have had his books in the past, and I've the 29, like that's my earth. Remember how I was saying my grounding of my core essence is in clear commitments, wholehearted commitments. So yeah, we are absolutely, all 4 of those Godheads, we are emerging of that. But the purpose is fulfilled, not through the bonds. It's grounded in the bonds, but it's fulfilled through my mind's process in this life. We're looking at me as an example. Okay, you're welcome, Ben. Yes, thank you for answering that, Nathan. Absolutely. Genesis is saying, what a nice lesson to bump in today. Looking forward to seeing more connection with you. Yeah, absolutely. Thanks you so much, guys. We are done for the day unless you have questions. I have some energy, as you can tell. I always have energy when there's this flow of just being able to communicate with you guys. It's so much fun. 4th line day. Let's get friendly here. Have any questions, feel free to ask. I have a little bit more water. I don't have to go to the bathroom yet. So open to you. Flavor of the God archetypes. Absolutely. Yeah, remember, don't get lost in the conditioning field. It's not about being able to what do you call that? Worship any of these gods. It is about learning about those thematics, okay? So I hope you guys enjoyed this, and this is something that was helpful for you in your process, particularly for those, my cartography students. This is stuff that we started to touch on in Monday's class, and I don't feel like we gave it really good effort as much as I'd like to. So here, I'm glad we had more time. You're very welcome, Daria. Thank you, Natalie, for the recognition. That was fun. That was the first time I'd done that, so I like that. Yeah, we'll do more of this kind of stuff later. All right, so if there's no questions, I'm gonna sign off for now. Take care. Have fun. You're very welcome. Thank you, Yana. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Thank you, Kajela. Feel free to unmute. Bye.
Thank you, Lavina.
You're welcome.
This was a lot of fun.
Thank you so much.
Yay.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. See
Bye.
cartography on Monday. See ABCs on Wednesday, and Fridays for LYD if you want to join.